Hello friends, welcome to Nandip Academy's UPSC Daily Answer Writing Program. Today we are going to discuss a question from UPSC Mains 2024. The question is on disaster management. On expected lines, we have a question on urban flooding. The question is that urban flooding is an emerging climate-induced disaster. Discuss the causes of this disaster. So what are the causes of disaster? Mention features of two such major disasters in India in the last 2 decades. And what are the policy frameworks in India that aim at tackling such floods? Now, the first step is to understand what is the focus and locus part of this question. Okay, most students don't attempt such questions just looking at the size of the question, but actually, if you break it down, you'll find it out that this answer is actually very easy to write. So the focus here is what are the causes of urban flooding? The first focus is what are the causes of urban flooding. Then next is feature of two major floods in the last 2 decades in India. And the third focus is what are the policies and frameworks in India that aim at tackling such disasters. The locus part in this question is that flooding in urban area is a climate-induced disaster. Now understand the importance of this focus. The question is already stating that the reason for urban flooding is climate related. Okay, so you'll have to carry forward this thread in an introduction. You start writing your introduction by focusing on how climate change is the reason for increased intensity of flooding in urban India. Now, what are the ways of writing the introduction here? Because I said the locus mentions, or the question itself mentions that this disaster is climate induced, you'll have to make a mix of both. That yes, urban flooding is a climate-induced disaster as well as some anthropogenic factors or man-made factors also are responsible for this disaster. So explain very briefly the increasing frequency of urban floods in India due to climate change. So because of climate change, the frequency has increased, the high intensity rainfall in urban areas has increased. That is leading to urban flooding. Then there are more pronounced effects because of man-made reasons. Right. Though the question is stating that urban flooding is a climate-induced disaster, you should also bring in the picture that there are also some anthropogenic reasons or man-made reasons which are actually making this disaster more severe in Indian cities. Then give also some examples. We had floods in Delhi 2023 or Himachal Pradesh floods in 2023. Bengaluru floods, Hyderabad, Chennai, the most famous ones. UPSC has been asking us questions on urban flooding since 2015. Because that was the one milestone in urban flooding in India. So give some examples here in the introduction itself to make clear to the examiner that you've understood what the question is about. Okay, so this is how you can write the introduction to this question. Now, the first focus. What are the causes of urban floods? You'll have to be very specific. When you're giving causes, you'll also have to give some examples to substantiate your cause. Now, for example, the first is extreme rainfall events. Mind you, you'll have to focus on climate-induced reasons or causes of disaster. So the first is extreme rainfall events. And to give example, we have 944 millimeter of rainfall in 24 hours in Mumbai in 2005. Okay, so this is abnormally high rainfall for Mumbai. So that is one example. We have extreme rainfall events, be it Chennai, Bengaluru, Hyderabad, wherever we have seen urban flooding, or Delhi for that matter, everywhere we have seen extreme rainfall events happening. Okay. Then also give some other reasons which are man-made. For example, inadequate drainage systems. Okay. So when you're giving reasons, you can state a report of CAG on Bengaluru or Mithi River in Mumbai. Okay, how there is encroachment on these rivers or natural water bodies, wetlands, lakes. So this is one reason. Then loss of green cover and wetlands. Again, we have a report by CAG on Bengaluru, how natural water bodies or wetlands were used for construction in Chennai as well as in Kolkata. Okay, then poor urban planning is one main reason which is leading to reduction of natural drainage systems such as rivers, lakes and wetlands. So Adyar River in Chennai or Mithi River in Mumbai are both classic examples of how unplanned urbanization is creating problems, right? Then increased paved surfaces. This is also one best example. According to a report by ISSC Bengaluru, it says that Bengaluru is 94% concrete. Now, because of this concrete, the flow of water increases, the speed of water increases, which results into urban flooding. So these are some of the reasons or the causes of urban flooding in India, and also you're giving examples to substantiate those claims. Okay. Now the next focus is features of two major flooding events in the last 2 decades. You have a number of examples that you can quote, but I would suggest give examples which are very recent. Now, for example, Delhi floods 2023. Throughout the answer, I'm not going to miss the link that the question mentions that this is a climate-induced disaster. So when I'm giving reasons, when I'm giving examples, also I'll have to focus on how it is a climate-induced disaster. So when I say Delhi floods, I'll have to give example that there was excess rainfall in Delhi as well. Okay, 260 millimeters of rainfall in just 24 hours. Again, this is abnormal for Delhi, but we see these changes happening because of climate change. Okay, so Yamuna reaching its highest water level in the past 45 years is one feature of this. Okay, then low-lying areas along Yamuna were submerged. Then Chennai floods, this is actually a classic example of urban flooding in India. Here also you see 300 millimeters of rainfall in one single day in 24 hours. Okay, this is again abnormal for Chennai also. Then other reasons were also there: encroachments on wetlands, failure of drainage systems, encroachment in the Adyar River. This led to severe flooding. Okay, so these are two examples that you can give. Most students tend to go into details of explaining these two events. It's not necessary you go into details of this. Just let the examiner know that these are the two events in the last 2 decades. The last focus is what are the policies and frameworks in India that aim at tackling such floods. So you'll have to focus on only those regions prominently which are focusing on urban areas. So of course we have guidelines, National Disaster Management Guidelines, which were given by NDMA, National Disaster Management Authority, in 2010. They were exclusively only for urban flooding. Okay, so it emphasizes on proper drainage planning or risk assessment and early warning systems. Okay, then we have AMRUT, that is Atal Mission for Regeneration and Urban Transformation. Again, it exclusively focuses on improving urban infrastructure, which includes storm water drainage systems and rainwater harvesting also. So this is directly dealing with urban flooding. Then your flood management and border areas program. This is more about coastal flooding. Okay. So your focus is on river and coastal flood management and drainage improvement in coastal cities. And the last is integrated coastal zone management. Here also again focus is on drainage management. Okay, so these are some of the policies or frameworks in India. These two are a must: NDMA guidelines in 2010 and AMRUT mission. We have had a separate question on NDMA guidelines as well. Okay, so these are the policy frameworks in India. Again, when you're concluding along with climate-induced focus, you'll also have to give some reasons where man-made or anthropogenic reasons for this flooding. So you should say that this is a multifaceted challenge. If the challenge is multifaceted, your approach also has to be holistic. Right? If there are too many reasons for this, your approach also will have to come with too many solutions. So mitigation, focusing on mitigation and adaptation strategies is the best solution here. Okay, so cities can be better prepared to respond to such flooding events, thereby reducing the damage to infrastructure, economy, lives that are lost. Okay, so mitigation and adaptation are two important words. You'll have to mention them here. Again, then focusing on improved infrastructure, sustainable urban planning, very important. This is because of unplanned urbanization, which is resulting into urban floods. So sustainable urban planning, community engagement, again very important, and effective emergency responses. Okay, so these are all points which are given by International Disaster Management or the disaster cycle that you study. These are all the solutions for the floods. Okay, so this is how you can write an answer to this question. That's all for today. Thank you and have a nice day.